welcome back. Push Past 10 Nation. Check in. We are here. We are here once again to bring you another inspirational guest, to bring you another motivational guest, to bring you someone who represents Dominica so very well. So check in. Let us know where you're joining us from. And we want to wish you a very happy day. I hope your day is off to an incredible start. So as you come in, remember to tag a few people and share the live, as we are joined today by Dr. Valda Henry. And you must have heard the news by now that she's the first ECCB first female deputy governor. So she is making all of us so proud to be Dominican today. And she's taking some time off of her busy schedule to be with us today to just share about her experiences to date and to tell us all about this important position. So come on in, check in. Don't forget to share the live. Don't forget to tag someone. And of course, we say a very special thank you to our sponsor, TDN Radio, for providing this platform where we are able to come by and bring you such wonderful motivational guests. So again, come on in as we welcome Dr. Valda Henry to the program. So with that, we say good morning, Dr. Henry. How are you?
Good morning to you, Simone, and to all your listeners. I'm wonderful this morning, giving God thanks as I always do.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us on such short notice. I can imagine with this transition that you have a lot to do. Indeed. So I want to personally thank you for taking an hour out of your day, a couple of minutes out of your day, simply to join us to tell us about this wonderful new opportunity. Yes. So by way of introduction, just tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your upbringing, where you were born and raised in Dominica, and just anything you would like to share. And then I will go ahead and share your bio with our audience.
Well, I'm from the village of Maho. I was actually born in the village. So I always say I wasn't born in the hospital and then came to town. In fact, where I was born we lived at the time, it's now the Maho market, but the house was there. And then shortly after, my father built a house lower down, and then we moved there. So I was born in Maho. I went to the Maho government school. I left Maho around 13 when I went to live with my elder sister, Cornelia, and her husband, former president, His Excellency Williams. I went to the convent high school, Sifokol at the time, now Dominica State College. Went to UE, Manchester Business School, Warwick Business School. I say that I'm a teacher. That's my vocation. My vocation is to teach. I have a passion for good governance. I have a passion for young people. I love people generally. I love people. And I am the mother of one son, and I am also like a second mother to a little daughter. So I have a son, and you can say little daughter. I come from a big family. I am the last of 11 of my mother's children, and 20 of 25, I think, of my father's children, 20 or 21. My family is like my bedrock. That's, I always say to the persons, my family is like Christ alive to me. That's who you can go to. They're always there. They put you straight too, but they're always there. You can always count on them. And we have really been close as a family, all my father's children, because my father always said we didn't have half brothers and half sisters. We had brothers and we had sisters because he didn't have half children. And so we grew up as a whole big extended family, and that has continued to this day. I have many nephews and nieces, and now grandnephews and grandnieces. And I'm just, I think, a simple, thankful little person.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. Now, I think it is so important in terms of getting to know you. So let me go ahead and read a little bit about your bio so we can get a full understanding of who you are. So Valda Frederica Henry is VF Inc.'s Chief Executive Officer and Principal Trainer. She served as a Senior Investment Officer at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and played an instrumental role in the restructuring of the investment unit and the development of the investment management framework of the bank. She has lectured in, among other subjects, human resource management and accounting, and has an extensive experience in organizational reviews, job analysis, and job descriptions, working with companies in the Caribbean, and served as the coordinator of the Administrative Reform Program of the Commonwealth of Dominica. She has served as a mentor for executive and middle managers in many sectors, including banking, hospitality, and utility. Valda is also a global human resources and organizational development expert who excels at collaboration with very strong interpersonal communications, leadership, and decision-making skills. She has developed and led numerous multi-year personal and professional development programs for the youth in Dominica. Very important. I want to come back to that later, Dr. Henry, as well as individuals and businesses throughout the Caribbean. She hosted a weekly radio and twice monthly television programs on which she discussed solutions to challenges faced by businesses in the region. She writes a column, Business and Life, for the online newspaper Dominica News Online. This is so important. I want to read everything, Dr. Henry, because this is very important in terms of inspiring those who would like to aspire in their career. Valda holds formal qualifications in financial analysis and planning, governance, and business management. She is a chartered financial analyst, holds a PhD in industrial relations and business, Masters of Business Administration, Bachelor's in Management, and Bachelor's in Law. She is a certified global professional in human resources, Society for Human Resource Management, Senior Certified Professional, and an accredited director. She is also a certified ProNet trainer and a Myers-Briggs Type Indicator MBTI practitioner and a certified Train the Trainer for InfoDev and the Women Innovatives Network in the Caribbean. Dr. Henry, very impressive. We are so honored to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so we have a lot to share on today. But before we even talk about your new opportunity, and just from reading your bio, I think we can certainly see how you were able to secure this position. But before we even get there, let's just talk about your previous experiences, how your professional career started, and kind of just walk us a little bit through your professional experiences and what got you to the point of where you are today.
Well, I always said I am a teacher. In fact, if you ask me what I wanted to be, I always said a teacher. But I always added I wanted to be a teacher with a difference. I saw as, at the time when we left school, high school, and everybody who wanted to go to the bank and who wanted to go wherever and wherever. I wanted to go to teaching, but I always said to my friends, I didn't see myself like really having a job. I saw myself going to different companies and different places and different countries and going to organizations and getting them to do it better, work better, But at the time, I didn't have a name for it. It was called consulting. That was when I was about 14, 15, 16. And so deep down, I always wanted to do that. And I always said in order to do that, I wanted to be at the best. I wanted to be not just an ordinary teacher, but a teacher who excelled and encouraged others to excel. So I always knew from very early I was going to do a PhD. I knew that, like I knew my name was Valda Henry. And so when I left high school, I went to this Dominica's CIFO call. And as I said last night in previous interview, my sister Connie always said that even if I didn't get these A levels, I could never say I regretted those 2 years because they were so formative for me. And what is so interesting about this CIFO call, our grouping of 1981 to 83, we kind of always remain connected. And right now we were instrumental in establishing the Sifoko Dominica Sifoko Alumni Association that has begun doing great things in Dominica, and I can only see it growing. And from sixth form, I went and I taught at the Dominica Community High School for 2 years. And I left there and I went to UWI. When I came back after 3 years, I was made the coordinator of the Administrative Reform Program. The government had undergone previously a reform of the civil service. The administrator had gone on study leave, and the acting administrator was also leaving. So in the end, I fit into that role, and I stayed for 3 years as the coordinator of the ARP, where we did tremendous work, going on to implement the recommendations that arose from the study that was done by one of the key persons in that study was Mr. Clavis Joseph of Antigua and Barbuda, who recently passed. And job descriptions, job evaluations, rewriting of job descriptions were done chiefly by Mrs. Rhoda George and Miss Yolanda Giro, who is now deceased. And I was the coordinator, I was the head of the team. And that was kind of interesting because Mrs. George, when I was younger, going to high school, we were neighbors in Canefield, 12th Street. And many a time, Mrs. George would give me, or if I was actually early, would give me a ride into town to school. And fast forward a few years, I come into the service relatively young, 22, I think I was 23. And one of the persons I am to supervise is Mrs. George. And I must say, while a lot of persons had, whatever they wanted to say of Mrs. George, I worked so well with Mrs. George because Mrs. George is really a professional.
Okay, I think she may have frozen for a minute, so let me jump in here and just say good morning to everyone who's joining us via Facebook Live. I see Heather Peltier, I see Roma Douglas, Agnes Tang, Annette, thank you for being here as we try to reconnect with Dr. Henry. Let me go ahead and send her a quick message. I think her internet may have frozen on us. So how is everyone doing? Thank you for sneaking in and watching us while you're at work this morning. So just give me a quick minute and let me see if we can reconnect with Dr. Henry. Let me let her know that she is frozen, so she can come back in. So don't forget to share the live. Let everyone know that we are here this morning for this very important conversation with Dr. Valda Henry, who we now know has become the very first ECCB female deputy governor. So don't forget to share the live. Let everyone know that we're here. And by the way, while we have a couple of minutes, I see that Annette Phillip is on the Facebook Live, and she will be our guest this evening at about 7 p.m. And I hope that you will stop by to support her in her journey as well, because if anyone knows Annette, she is full of life, she is full of enthusiasm, and I think it is so important that we support our own. So I hope that you will stop by to support Annette this evening, and I know she cannot wait. So I hope that you will stop by and support her. So I think Dr. Henry is coming back in. So let us welcome her back in. Dr. Henry, that is technology for you. You don't even need to apologize.
I have full strength. I went to check it as my internet, but I don't know what happened.
That's okay. It happens to me too. So don't even worry about it. Let's just go take it off from where you ended.
I ended was when I spoke about being in the civil service as the coordinator of Administrative Reform Program after I returned from UWI. And I served in that role for 3 years, and then I left to do my master's in business administration, 91 to 93. I returned in 93. I worked for 2 weeks in the Ministry of Trade with Mr. Owen Larrock, former secretary. And then I left and I went to UWI. So I did 1 year at UWI, 93, 94. I left UE in 94 to go to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank as an investment officer. And I stayed there for 4 years. I rose to the role of senior investment officer. I left. I went to do my PhD and I returned. I worked with my sister, Whitco Inc., Cornelia Williams firm for maybe about 3 years. And then I branched out on my own in 2005, informally, November 2005. And in March 96, I officially incorporated VF Inc. So that basically has been my journey. During my 15 years, so VF Inc. Celebrated its 15th birthday on March 9th, 2006. We've done tremendous work at the region. Last year, we were moving offices. We were moving from rented space to our own space. And in the moving, I came across like reports for some clients I'd even forgotten we had done work for. And that's when I truly appreciated the depth and the breadth of work I have done over the years. Tremendous work with companies from all over the place, through the OECS, wider CARICOM, Turks and Caicos, done some work in Africa, Namibia, done some work in South Africa. There's a few, when I was studying, UNESCO had appointed me on the experts on Social Security. And together with a team, we had gone to South Africa to advise the government of South Africa on Social Security measures for South Africa. So that was, and then I've done conferences. I presented at many conferences. A lot of it on Social Security, because that's what my PhD is, looking at how governance impact the financial performance of Social Security. So it straddles a few disciplines: governance, finance, and Social Security. And so in my early years, I did a lot of work on Social Security. I also served as the chairperson of the Dominica Social Security Board. And then, I moved on and I've just been working.
Well, thank you so much for your valuable contribution to the business in Dominica, but we also know that you do so much more than just that. But one of the things we like to do on this program to help inspire and motivate others is we like to talk about successes and challenges along the way. So are there any challenges that you can share with us, and some major successes? You already talked about some of your successes, but just tell us, because I'm sure that you faced some challenges along the way that could have stopped you in your track, but you kept going.
Oh, there are so many challenges. Even yesterday, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, he saw a picture of mine on the DNO story, and he's like, "Oh, Valda, you look so happy there," and like,
yes.
And I said, "But that's not a new picture. That picture is a picture of 2007, when I had just opened VF Inc. And I told him I was in my full bloom of joy and happiness, and where I was really very naive, and I took everyone." And he says, "But I don't see you as cynical." I said, "Well, no, I'm not cynical. I've tried. I have worked never to become that. Though I've had some experiences that could lead me there, but I took deliberate decision that I was not going to get there."
Absolutely.
One of the things my father used to always say to us: we should never go down to meet people. We should challenge them to come to find us. And so, if you did me something wrong, I wasn't going to do you back, because then I would be coming to find you. So I would have to take the high road, And so yes, I explained some of it to him, and I'll maybe just share some of it. I won't go into the great details of it. Even last evening on another program, I spoke of it. I said to persons, I know people see me, and because I'm always joyful and I'm always happy, because one of my sisters, Cleopatra, one of the things she always says about me is that I'm a contented soul. I find joy even, and I think that's one of my strengths, even at my worst. Even when things are just not working out, even when I cannot see a light at the end of the tunnel, I can still find something to be joyful about. I can still find something to give thanks and praise for. And I think that is one of my strengths. That is what has kept me and has helped me, and even to bring me to this point where I'm now in this place and this space where I can accept this position as the Deputy Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. I mean, if we start with challenges, where does it begin first? At 6 years, I lost my mom. Wow. For many persons, that's a derailing moment. But thankfully, because of the love of my family, my father, my elder sisters, who just really stepped in as mothers for us, we stayed on the straight and narrow path. We were surrounded with love. Our aunts, as I always say about my Auntie Foni and my Uncle Asinol and Uncle Toom. And so these were my mother's siblings. They enveloped us in love. They didn't have great money to give, but you knew that they had us covered. And everybody knew that in the village they couldn't interfere with us because they would have to deal with my aunts and uncles on that end and their children too.
Right.
We continue to be close. My father's sisters, Auntie May, nurse, they stepped in to take us even after my mom died. But then my brothers came back for us about maybe 3 months later and said, no, they would take care of us. My eldest brothers, Edgar, Mayo, and so on. They did. My father until my sisters came back. So that was, somebody could say that was a big challenge, but, did it well. Even throughout, and I shared these stories last night, so I'm even going to share it again. But even in terms of getting my scholarships to go and do my first degree, to do my second degree, again, challenge. But because I was so, I said to people sometimes, I'm so tunnel visioned, and nothing will stop me. I find an obstacle, I find a way around it, under it, above it, I move along. And then even in consultancy, one of the things, I have come to recognize is that human beings are not always what they appear to be. And yes, I maybe always knew that, but I always say, I trust first, and you'd have to really do something for me to not trust you. So I take everybody on face value as good and wonderful until they prove me otherwise. And a few people have gone on to prove me otherwise. Notwithstanding, that have not allowed me to become disillusioned so much that I don't trust. I still trust. Some of my friends think I'm so naive, but I'm not naive. I just, as I say to them, I've just determined what is important and not important. So I don't sweat many things that people would sweat over. I don't. And I always bring that back to the fact that from very early, given that my mom died at 6, I recognize that we are here but for the grace of God.
Amen.
So very early, I don't, my friends always say, Valda, you don't get vexed, I get vexed. But I know when I get vexed, I can be so, when I really get vexed, I lose reason, so I try not to go there. And in business, I've had contracts, but envy have stepped in and persons have done whatever they did. And I remember the first $1 million project we would have signed on to in 2013. We already had the discussion. We didn't sign the contract on the contract, but we had all the correspondence through the emails and even letters. We had begun work because it was for a reputable organization, begun work. And then when one of the officers came and recognized that, and she did all sorts of stuff. And in the end, I could have sued that client, but because, as they said, it was there. In fact, that has happened to me on 3 occasions, 3 different clients and 4. And on each occasion, I could have sued because on each occasion, I had either a signed contract or written confirmation of the contract and work had begun. So in all of them, and I would stand a very good chance of winning those cases. But, I didn't. And some people thought, I was, that was just being silly. But I didn't. I said, you know what? Whatever God has in store for me will be mine.
Absolutely.
I firmly believe that what is yours, cannot be taken away. Notwithstanding, there may be obstacles. And these contracts that disappeared from us that we had started working on, did it cause some hardship for us? Of course it did. But because it didn't. Because 15 years later, we are still standing.
Amen.
And I say to people, God is an amazing God. And I don't know how people cannot believe that there is a God. Because I remember the individual who was instrumental. There were 2 of them in us losing that $1.5 million project. It was $1.5 million over 3 years. And they just felt it was just too much money for me. But these are the same people who would sign $20 million project for someone with a different color tone from mine outside of the region, outside of Dominica. Amazing. And that is something about our people, about us as Caribbean people we have to work on. That latent, insidious envy. And envy is the word I can use for that, of others. So it's not good enough for them. We want it for ourselves. But taking it away from me didn't give it to you. Don't mind giving it to someone else. Because that's one of these individuals went on to sign a $20 million contract for another person outside of this, who in the end, didn't ever exactly do a great job of what they were paid that kind of money for. But that, and I just took these things in stride. I shouldered the losses, because you can imagine what that did to us. Because again, when you are bidding for those kinds of projects and you get it, you kind of leave all the little projects aside, because that requires you to focus.
To focus.
You want to go through on this. So you have to give that dedicated time, dedicated attention, hire some of the best. In fact, we had hired people already for that project. We had actually paid out, because, for some of the consultants, you have, so we had not yet signed off and received payment, but because of the institution and the reputation, we ended up paying off on some of these assignments. Some of the clients, consultants were good enough and refunded us, one or two didn't. That's part of the game. I didn't expect them to refund, but some of two, when they realized it hadn't gone through, or I was giving it up. And that has happened on every project. Even recently, after COVID lockdown in 2020, we got this project, this opportunity from outside of Dominica. Wonderful opportunity in the midst of all of this COVID-ness. Because when COVID started, as I said, while 2020 looked to be such a great year for us, we had projects booked up till June.
Wow.
And then COVID came and they just like abracadabra, disappeared.
Wow.
And so I didn't just disappear with COVID, because I realized COVID was going nowhere and we had to still survive. And so when I took about 2 weeks to rest, and then I won wrong. I started my newsletter. I am ready to do a issue. I started my gardening, and then I free service until the lockdown was over. Some of them,
and I think you speak so very well of turning lemons into lemonade, the importance of family support, the importance of the people that you're surrounded by, the importance of not being bitter, and the importance of knowing that what is out there for you. And I firmly believe that no one can take what is out there for you. And with that, I just want to say hello and thank you for joining us. For the folks on the Facebook Live, so we have Richard Saint Marie, and he says, hi, congrats to Dr. Valda. At the appropriate time, please ask her to define the role of the deputy governor. So we will get into that. We have Elsa, good morning. Agnes says, beautiful. Yvonne, congrats again, Valda. Mutual respect and admiration, much love and blessings. And we have Noreen Joseph. So a lot of congratulations coming in. Congratulations on your evaluation, she says. And Noreen Joseph, when stuff like that happens to me, I just say it wasn't mine. God always knows best. What is yours is yours. I so firmly believe that, Dr. Henry. No one can take it from you. And I think
that is what keeps me, and what is what. And one of the other things that keeps me, Psalm 25, where it says, the Lord shall not give your enemies victory over you.
Amen.
And that for me, and I say that to God even when I'm praying and things are not happening. I say, you know what you're doing, Because one thing I am sure of, you are not going to give these enemies victory over me. You're not going to do that at all. And that also keeps me grounded.
And we have to pray for our enemies. We have to pray for those who don't like us.
Yes, even in the midst of COVID, and if something had happened to me too. Two major things that could have derailed me. Because even when I haven't told many people about them. And even when I told, some of my very close friends and, my family, they're like, one friend said, no, I couldn't give up. I just couldn't let that go how you did. And no, I did. And my sisters were amazed that I didn't go throwing myself down and doing nothing. And I just said, you know what? I said, God, when the first incident, when it happened and I found out about it, it happened and I found out about it accidentally. When I just went to check on something for a friend of mine and I just decided to check on my own stuff. And then I just said, and I was talking to Father Peter that night, and Father Peter was telling me about his day, and he was trying to do this recording, and it wasn't going. I said, well, Father, let us trade days now. Give me the day of yours, and let me give you mine. And when I told him, Father Peter said, what? Father Peter was horrified. And I said, well, Father, you know what? I'm calm. It's just interesting. I said, God is saying to me, I'm to rely on him for all things.
Amen.
I'm supposed to just rely on him and let him do his work. I am just to be a pawn to
An
be used,
instrument, an
pushed
instrument.
wherever He wants me to go, and I'm going to do that.
Amen.
And I've done that. And then in November, I was 4 days before I'm traveling. I put everything in place: babysitters for my children, person to keep my office. I put everything in place, and I was heading on because although I was trying to say, can I work remotely? And they're like, no, 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 you have to be based in the country for the first 4 months. After that, you can maybe come back to work and so on. So I was off for my 4 months. And I said, 4 months, I'm not going to move Nathan and bring him to school. And, already he was in grade 6, critically. And I tussled with that. And I said, boy, God, even before, I'd always said, grade 6, I wanted to stick grounded, put so I could nurture and work with Nathan. Because Nathan is a brilliant boy, but if you're not sitting next to him, the child, I've never found a person
like most children.
That one, I've never found a person who can distract himself like that Nathan of mine. Seated next to Nathan, otherwise Nathan and the book alone don't know what they're doing. And so when it didn't happen, when I got this call bright and early in that 4 days before I left, normally I don't pack early, but I was packed and ready to go. And I said, after I listened and the story they gave me made no sense. And I said that, I said, that's nonsense. What you're saying to me, that's not the reason. You cannot divulge it, but what you're saying to me makes no sense.
No sense.
Understand? Not even Nathan. I just cut that off. And I hung up my phone and then I sat and I said, you know what, God? I always said I wanted to be here for grade 6, and maybe this is what you're saying, be here for grade 6. And then, we had other things, opportunities came. We got a contract with one of our clients who had taken up our offer when we offered the free service and when they wanted to continue work. And so we got, some work there. We got a lot, interestingly, a lot of things were coming in for, because we then got our fantastic marketing intern, Christiana Paul, and she started really revving up our social media presence, because really, I come, I make a live, I disappear. I wasn't managing these things.
Right. And so important too, though. So important too.
Yes, and flyers and beautiful things, vibrant things. And so a lot of persons were calling in for personal advice services. And so we did a lot of that. We did a lot of recruitment. Somehow recruitment was coming back. Although there was COVID and people were retrenching, there was a set of persons who were hiring, because now they also needed new skills. And so we did that, and we, started to keep our little head over water. I moved because we rented property. I had this property we had built for a long, we had bought a number of years ago. But it was rented out. And in March, beginning of March, end of February really, the clients we had in the building moved out. And when everybody was like, I remember my brother said, oh my God, what are you going to do? I said, no, that's perfect. Perfect timing. I think it's time I move in. And so in the July, we moved in last year. I renamed the building after my parents. And it just felt like the right thing to do. Yes, I could have, people wanted to rent it and the rent, but nah, I just felt that was the move at this time. And I did that.
Turning obstacles into opportunities again.
No regret on that. And then, things got really bad. We went for the kind of a low patch, and contracts ended, projects disappeared, persons coming in with things. And then, something happened. A friend of mine, Joan Underwood, contacted me because of a client.
I know her. I've had her on the program. Fantastic lady.
Fantastic human being. I mean, I met Joan. Joan was one of the persons who gave me my first opportunities when I went out on my before I went out on my she's in Barbados now. At the time, she was the HR manager for ABI Bank. Yes. And she gave me a big break there. So Joan, forever thankful. Forever. In fact, we had in for the first PCWS, she was one of our phenomenal Caribbean women. We featured. And then she came back and forth, and then she said, they come back for questions. She did it urgently. And then I didn't hear anything again. And I said, I need to follow up with Joan. And then months later, I just said, well, okay, maybe they change their mind. I'm doing a search for something and it comes up. Now, these people responded now to info, but every correspondence was done on CEO. Yet somehow they responded to info.
Oh my.
That comes to me, but I don't go in it that often. If I'm on, I see what
So you did not see it.
I did not notice it, but my secretary gets it and she goes there, but somehow she didn't see it either. And Harris is saying that I was successful in getting this project. All we now need to agree on is on the fees. And I was like, what? I was like in March.
My.
And when I saw that email, like maybe in June, I rose and I said, oh my God, I cannot believe this. Hope against hope.
Oh, wow.
And after I haven't gotten another response. And I said, but God, you're not easy, no? You know, at that point, our order, because one of the contracts we had for our client had ended in February, something else we had ended in early March.
And this was in March.
We were going in with like no projects. And there was this project, and it would have been a sizable project.
Yeah.
You know. And I was like, you know this, and you allowed it to come and it disappeared. It came to my hands and it just disappeared. I didn't even see it. And then I said, okay, Valda, maybe again that wasn't for you.
It wasn't for you.
Again, if you had gotten it, you would have gotten so engrossed in both that project and that. And then the opportunity for the deputy governor, that came again. Well, that's why I say that's God. That's even not about me. George, I'm sorry, I'm calling your name. I know Joanna. I mean, you know, so I got to know Joanna just very recently because she was the one trying to establish and get going the Dominica Commonwealth Scholars alumni. And she's done tremendous work, but alas, it's a hard work and she's trying. And, you know, so alumni, we have to do a little better to be
Yes.
And she called me one morning and she said, Doc, I just got this thing that the deputy governor's position is been advertised. Someone sent it to me, but that's not for me. That's for you. When I read it, I said, that's weird. I said, no, I don't know about it. I mean, I have enough connections. I think
contacts.
I mentioned that. And I said, is the deputy governor's tenure already up this year? And she said, but I have the ad. I said, you have the ad. So while she's talking to me, I Googled and I went on the website and there was nothing. So I said, but John, there's nothing on the website. And anyhow, she said she sent it to me and voila, yes, indeed. So I called one of my, friends at the ECCB and I said, she said, that just came out on the internet. And they're saying they show it in half an hour. It will be all over the Caribbean even before they post it.
Absolutely.
Typically, they post things in-house before they put it onto the website, at least a day, I think. And here I am, it's not even half an hour since the post went out on the internet that I'm calling. And she said, yes. I said, okay. And then when I saw it, I contacted a friend of mine. I called him and I said, the deputy governor's post has been advertised. It's not yet on the website, but I do have the vacancy notice. I'm going to send it to you because I think you should apply. But I think you'd be a great deputy governor. And he says, no, I'm about to retire. No.
No, it's for you. It's for you.
That's for you. I said, no, I think you. I said, I might apply too, but I think you really ought to apply because
You're trying to pass it along.
I think.
But God is thinking it's for you.
He would be a good choice.
Yes.
He would be a good deputy governor. And then a friend of mine called about something else. One of my mentees, I was mentoring her, she was applying for a position and that we'd gone through the process. And then she contacted me and I said, that's, and she said, the MD had mentioned it and, she was saying, so I said, yes, I have it and I'll forward it to you. And yeah, you can apply for it, And I forwarded it to her and I had mine and I was like, should I apply? Should I not apply? And then a few friends had telling it. And then one friend I said to her, she said, what nonsense about should you apply? That's not a question of course.
Right.
Again, I started weighing things. VFing. I say, I applied for this job, I get it. My VFing,
yes.
I can be actively involved in VFing. Yes, we've had some really rough times, but things look, and even while there's nothing really on the horizon, but things look like it's picking up because I just had the sense, and Nixon George can attest to that. Because earlier in the day I said that to Nixon. I said, Nixon, I just cannot tell you what it is, but my bones are saying that 2021 is going to be my year. I think you in that year too. And he said he had the same feeling. I said, there's nothing really on that horizon per se. I have these local projects, but they're ending just now. But I just, deep in my spirit, I just felt I was going to be moved somewhere. I couldn't tell you where. In fact, from last year, I started feeling that. And that is why even in terms of mass camp, I had written to them, and I said,
Yes.
folks,
Yes.
we need to begin to find a replacement for me.
Yes.
I I am going to give up, the
Mm-hmm.
leadership of the mass camp. I'll always be
Mm-hmm.
there to assist, but someone else, people else need to step in
Mm-hmm.
to take over.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anything. That was last year, and they could attest to that. I just, in my spirit, there was this. I always say, people, when it's time for me to make a move, there's like a restlessness in my spirit. My bones are talking, as I like to say. And sometimes it shows me where I may go, sometimes it doesn't. And in that case, I didn't see anything. I just know I was going to be shifted and moved. I just didn't know where.
Yes. So here you are trying to pass this opportunity along to others, and God is saying, no, it's for you.
Yeah, and I kept still debating, should I not? And I didn't apply. And then I contacted a few persons, I said, okay, for references. And then I spoke to one lady, and she always says I give her the credit for being the person who pushed me to the
Mm-hmm.
end. When my family members said, yeah, man, go for it. My brother-in-law, he said, I like ask anybody in the region who could get that job over you, based on your qualifications and so forth.
Wow.
And I spoke to her this Sunday. The deadline was a Tuesday. And I said to her, we're talking, would you give me a reference? I said, oh, but I'm still debating that I should apply for that, but I do. She says, Valda, there's no debating. You shall apply for this position. It's like I'm thinking, she said, listen to me. This is your time. I sense it is your time and you
You've
shall
done the
apply.
work. You've done the work.
And she kept calling me, have you applied? Have you done this thing? Have you done this? I said, okay, no, I'm revising the CV. Putting the link. She's like, how long does it take? I was like, no, I have to go and try to craft the CV, to ensure that it is in line.
Covers everything.
And I crafted the CV, sent it out to three of my friends for them to give me feedback. I prepared the letter. We had something else to do. I kind of did it. And coming up to the morning, I actually called my other friend who I attended to, and I said, remember, today is the deadline, huh? We cannot be late. I said,
Tell it somebody else.
I'm not yet completely finished, but I'm working on finishing. She said, I'm finished. I'm just doing my read over. And that was in the morning. And she's going to submit in the morning. And so she submitted, and then I'm still working. And the deadline is approaching, but I'm still fine tuning something. Read that every time I read something, I can always find something to change.
Oh, absolutely.
And then about half an hour before the deadline, I say, okay, Valda, this is it. It has to go.
Yep.
Any errors, whatever is there has to be there. I said my prayer to the Holy Spirit, and I pushed my buttons, and it went off.
Yeah, and I want to find out what you felt when you realized that you had gotten the position. But I want to make sure we go back to that question that Richardson Mary asked about the position. But before we even do, for those of us who are less familiar with the ECCB, can you tell us what is the ECCB?
The ECCB is the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. And the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is the central bank for the 8 ECCB countries called the Eastern, or the ECCU countries, the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, because that's a union of 8 countries because we share the same currency. The Eastern Caribbean dollar is used in all 8 countries. And these 8 countries are Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, Dominica, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. These are the 8 member countries. We get a dollar among ourselves, and we can travel anywhere. It's the same money. And the role of the ECCB, like all of the central bank, one of the main roles is for the stability of the currency.
Right.
Because you don't want your currency fluctuating so much, because then if it fluctuates and it falls, then greater hardships for your people. So the stability. And in the case of the ECCB, the Eastern Caribbean dollar is pegged to the US dollar. According to the agreement, the 1983 ECCB agreement, the peg must be maintained by at least 60% backed. That means that for every EC dollar in circulation in the 8 member territories, there must be 60 US cents in reserves. So that way, while the reserves are is to shore it up. So let us say bad things happen, hurricanes and so on. There are the reserves to ensure that the currency does not dip.
Plummet. Yeah.
Over the years, ECCB has maintained almost 100% backing of the currency. So although it was meant to be 60, it has an extra buffer of at least 40 cents, 40%. And that means for every EC dollar circulating in our 8 member states, there is a US dollar in reserve. If there are 10 million, if there's 10 million US dollars in circulation, ECCB has 10 million US dollars in reserve to provide security and surety for it. It's also to strengthen and enhance the financial sector, again, for stability in our financial sector. Because the financial sector is so critical for growth and economic development. So let us say if persons lose confidence in our banking system, what's going to happen? Catastrophes. You remember what happened in 2008 with the global financial crisis? So again, that's one of the roles of ECCB, and that's why ECCB has a whole division called the Bank Supervision Department, whose job it is to monitor and control the operations of the banks to ensure that they are in compliance with prudential guidelines that have been established. That's another key role. Another role is to promote fiscal and debt sustainability, working with governments so that the governments maintain their debt, monitor the fiscal policies, that is taxation policies and so on, that things may remain stable and to keep, because again, 8 countries, and you have to try to manage the economies of 8 countries to ensure the stability. And so they guide and help the governments in making the decisions on debt management strategies. Recently in Dominica, we had the whole issue when the act was going to be passed in Parliament about they were talking about the reserves and 1 cent and so forth, and so that made a big story. And part of that is a whole part of the debt management. But again, it's maybe the need for education and sensitization of persons. And so the governments themselves have taken a decision that they wanted to reduce their debt ratio to about 60% of their GDP. Initially, it was up to 2030 by 2030. But because of the pandemic, that have been pushed back to 2035. And so it means that the 8 member states have to take different measures to ensure that they can meet that target that they've established. And ECCB will guide and help them in that, as well as to support economic development. These are some of the goals. If you go to ECCB agreement, you will find. And then the governor, part of his whole aim in the decision, yes, that's what we have to do. But his whole aim, as he says, is to be propelled, to advance and transform the lives of the people of the region.
And let me just throw this in. He's been doing an amazing job, because I follow ECCB on Facebook, and the governor has been, his name escapes me now, but he's been
Governor Antoine, Timothy N.J. Antoine.
He's been doing a fantastic job of Facebook Lives, telling us on different topics, especially the digital economy, e-commerce. Yes. He's been doing a fantastic job. So my congratulations to him as well. But just tell us what your role will be as Deputy Governor, and then I want to find out your reaction when you found out.
Well, one of the key roles of the Deputy Governor has to be to support the governor in the furtherance of his vision and that of the bank. Yes. And so the support in all forms, that is the fundamental role of the Deputy Governor. But of course, the Deputy Governor, according to the job description, has responsibility and has to provide leadership for a number of the bank's departments, including the Economic Department, the Banking and Operations Department, Bank Supervision Department. I think currency also falls under the Deputy Governor, who would have leadership for those. But ultimately, it is the furtherance is to support the government and the furtherance of those goals in maintaining the mandate given to the bank. That is what I see as the fundamental role.
Yes, and I want to take some comments on Facebook, but I have to ask, what was your reaction when you realized not only did you get the position, but you were going to be the first female deputy governor? Now, are you the first from Dominica as well to be in an executive position?
Dominica, no, because we had an executive position before. When there was the bank supervision, but it was called bank secretary at the time, which was like the number 3. We had the Dominican there. Mr. Harris. What was Mr. Harris' first name? He was related to what their first name? It evades me now. Errol Harris. or is it Errol Ali? No, Errol wasn't his name. Anyway, Mr. Harris. He was the bank secretary when I joined the bank, actually, and he was there before. So there have been two previous deputy governors, as well as two previous governors. So the governor is the third governor, and I am going to be the third deputy governor. So the deputy governor prior to me, and who's still in office, because I don't take up office until sometime in September, is Mr. Trevor Bradford out of St. Lucia. Prior to that, we had Mr. Errol Ali out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Governors prior to Mr. Antoine, Governor Antoine, we had Sir Dwight Venner out of St. Lucia, born in St. Vincent, raised in St. Lucia, identified himself as St. Lucia. Governor Dwight Venner, and prior to that was Sir Jacobs. I thought that was Sir Jacobs' first name, and I think Sir Jacobs is Kititian. So yes, I would be, in terms of deputy governor, I'd be the first Dominican and the first female. Let me tell you something. At first, the first female didn't make something.
Register with you.
As I said to persons, it's my father's fault. My father never raised us that when we're doing things, as a girl, you had to do that as a girl. No, it was, we had to just do that. So my father had the same expectations of his girls as he had of his boys. So I never, and so when people say that, I always have to double check and say, yeah, but I don't see that first. I don't see being female as a first thing. And so it's a friend of mine who first said, Valda, you realize you're going to be the first female? And I was like, yeah, but no big deal. And then the governor said it to me. And when he called me to tell me that I was the chosen candidate, and he said, you also realize you are going to be the first female. And I said, wow, yes, my friend brought that to me. But to be honest, even while I was applying for it, even while it came, that was not the first thing from me. I will tell you, if you want to be honest, you want me to tell you the honest truth. When the governor said it to me, that I was a selected candidate, my first words were, thank you, God.
Yes.
All praise goes to God. Then I said, Governor, I thank you for being the bearer of this good news. And that was it. And then I walked to my little room, I have a little altar set up, and I knelt while I'm talking to him, and I said a little thank you to God. Because I said, well, God, you know your journeys, and maybe all these things I missed, well, you took them away so that when this came now, because I'll tell you, the preparation for these interviews were grueling. Yes, so after I applied, and then I got word that I was selected for a first round of interviews, and I didn't have a clue. Fact, it didn't come as an interview; it's like a conversation. So I was thinking it's maybe just like a chit chat that was going to happen. Listen, I always say thank God my ability to think on my feet, which also comes from the knowledge base that I have. And that's why I say to people, and I say that to my child all the time, read. Because if you don't have it, when you're called to pull up something, you can't pull anything, there's nothing. Exactly. But if you read, even if you don't need it now, when you need it 3 years later, it may just pop up, And I had a little team that grills me, a team of 3 men, when you think of it, 3 men. One was based in England, one in the US, and one in Dominica. And so each of them took a different slant. And then the one in Dominica came and said, okay, so what are they? I said, oh, no, it looked like, he said, listen, since we don't know, let us prepare for technical questions. Easy, I think you can answer any question relating to you at ease. Let us prepare for technical questions, just in event. He goes there. And let me tell you, that was so, again, it's God, eh? When the lady maybe had 2 little questions about me and why I wanted the job. She never, nothing like that. She started asking me all kind of economic questions.
Wow.
About the economy, about tax fiscal policies, about renewable energies. And, and we wrote technical questions. And somehow I found answers. Some answers, question I didn't really know. I just pulled out something from my database in here. And even one of the questions she asked, and when I answered, She said something to do with fiscal policy and assisting government in ensuring fiscal sustainability. And she says, I never thought about this. No one ever mentioned this. But as you say that, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a lot of sense, And then the wrap up, which was good, she gave an evaluation right there of how I'd done in the interview. And that was the first interview I'd gone where a person did that. She said, I do that because I don't want people to be speculating and giving themselves anxiety about did I do good, did I do bad. So she said, if you didn't do so bad, you now get a chance to maybe correct maybe some misconception and whatever. But one of the things she did say about me, she said many things, but one of the things that she said was, she said, what came out very clear, I was poised and passionate, but my ability to think on my feet, as well as the wealth of knowledge that I have, that came out very strongly. Because the answers I gave to at least 3 questions, they were not run-of-the-mill answers. They were answers, and some of that had to be, as I was speaking, new thoughts would come in, and I was just shooting them out.
Yeah, but if I might just interject, Dr. Valda, Dr. Henry, I think that speaks so well of the importance of being prepared. Because so many times, we're relaxed, we're complacent, we have an interview, we don't think to get 3 people to coach us on the possible questions. So I think that speaks so very important about being prepared, not taking it for granted that you know the material, that you know the information, that you're going to, how we said, wing it. No, you have to prepare. You have to sit and get the coaching. And that is in any aspect of life, right? We have this expression at my house that says, if you stay prepared, you never have to get prepared.
Yeah.
So if you stay on top, and you mentioned that as well, that if you find you're always reading, you're always seeking out knowledge, you never know where you're going to be able to apply that knowledge. And to have her say that she never thought about what you were talking about, it just shows the importance of being a well-rounded person who's always reading and who's always informing themselves, especially in their field of interest.
Yeah. Well, I always say that, and I guess being a consultant, I say I can't go to any client who must tell me what is new. I must be the one to see what's new. So I have to keep on present. That's why I no money, good times, bad times. I made one of the things I made, and for the last maybe from 2009, organized a delegation of from Dominica to go to the Society for Human Resource Managers conference. And I think all HR people should do that. Because on whatever field you are, you have to stay on top of your game.
Absolutely.
You have to be, you cannot be lagging behind. But I did prepare. And in my preparation, I think I listened to every ECCB Connects that was ever prepared from the first till my interview day.
Yeah, I follow those.
Every blog written by the governor or ECCB. But I didn't just stop there. I also listened to podcasts from former governors, like the former Bank of England governor. I read around, articles relating to finance. I registered for a course on macroeconomics because economics is not my forte. Yes, I did economics for free, but I don't deal with that in my regular day. So I actually registered for a course on macroeconomics. I registered for a course on digitalization. I registered on fintech because I recognize that's where the government was going. And if you're support him, then I'm not an expert. I mean, he has lots of experts at the back. But you must have some knowledge. So you can be in. So even when you get new knowledge, it's building on something that's there. So you can
also not being afraid of learning, because I think we get to a certain point in our life where we say, this whole school thing is not for us. You have to keep learning, especially in this day and age of technology.
And right now, people have no excuses to not be keeping abreast. No, so many things are free. Yes. You have so many access. You can go to EDX courses, Coursera. And for some of these things, it's free unless you want a certificate. Some of these things, I need a certificate. Most times I don't, because I don't really need a certificate. I need to know
the knowledge.
So that I'm not going to use it to get a job. Somebody's not going to give me a job because I have an EDX something. But for some people, at the stage of your career, it is important. It's only 50 US. That's an investment in yourself. It may be
Absolutely.
199 US. That's an investment. And I say to persons, investment in yourself is one thing that can never go wrong, cannot fail. And so you should be prepared to invest. And some people say, oh, I don't have money. But these are the very same people who will spend $2,500 in a carnival band, in a
Absolutely.
in hanging out every weekend. And if you put some of that hanging out every weekend money aside, I'm not telling you don't hang out, but it's been a friend is $300 every weekend. Spend one, put two towards education or something else, you know. And for me, I always say if I had a choice, I would spend my life researching, writing, and publishing. That's
Me
what I would
too.
do.
Me
I
too.
used to say, I don't know, I said, why not give me a big grant so I can just sit down and research rather than running up and down working. But I have truly enjoyed what I've done. So for me, my work has really not been like work because I have to do. So sometimes people say, but doctor, how do you get all that time to do all that stuff? And I say, boy, it's just God, you know. Because if you do what it is you are put here to do, because we're all
Passionate
put here
about.
for something and for a purpose, then you
Yes.
find if you work with purpose, you are able to do so much more than you would ordinarily have done. If you are feeling you're in a job where it's dreary and it's drudgery, then I mean life becomes, you know.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Dr. Henry. Thank you for sharing with us. And as we get ready to wind down, I just have one more question for you, but I want to make sure we take the comments from the Facebook Live. And if you're
Yeah.
just joining us, this is Dr. Valda Henry, and she's the very first female deputy governor of the ECCB. So we're so proud of her, and we're proud to call her Dominican. So I always believe one of my goals is to highlight all that is positive and good about us as Dominicans and Caribbean people. So let's take a couple of comments before we wind down. We have Anne, and she says, congratulations, Dr. Henry, God's guidance. Nixie, admirable dedication and hard work. Indeed, she has blazed her path to success. Congratulations, Dr. Valda Henry. Elsa, very informative, rebanking. Marva, hi, cuz Valda, congratulations on your new job. Renee, I admire Dr. Henry's humility. So wonderful comments coming back to you, Dr. Henry. But I just had this question, and I thought you would be the perfect person to ask before we wind down the program. Have we made enough strides as women in terms of career opportunities? Is there more to be done? Or are we now in a position where, you know, we are on par? We've been offered the opportunities that are available to men. What is your impression as of us as women in career fields?
I think as women, we have done well. I think if you let us take that as the majority of the permanent secretaries, which is the heads of the department,
Let's see if she'll come back. We'll give it a couple of minutes. We froze in the beginning, and now we're frozen again in the end. Let's hang in there and see if she'll come back. And again, I want to thank everyone who is here on the Facebook Live with us. I think she's back. Dr. Henry, can you hear us? Okay, I think she's frozen for now. So let me just speak to everyone while she works to come back in, because I am truly enjoying this conversation, and I'm hoping that Dr. Henry can come back and tell us on this last question. So again, I want to thank you for being here for this Facebook Live presentation. I encourage you to share the live, let everyone know that we're here, and don't forget to follow Push Past 10 and let us know what you think about our programming. I think we lost Dr. Henry, but let's see if she can come back on just one more time. So hang in there with me while she comes back in for her very last few minutes with us. So I want to thank you for being here. And also, if you missed it, we had a wonderful presentation last evening on the vaccine hesitancy, and how it's impacting our economy. So I hope you will check out that presentation. Dr. Henry, thank you for coming back. And as we answer the final question and wrap it up, because the technology, giving us a cool wash this morning, but it's
I know. And no, you were asking, and I was saying that I think as women we have made significant strides.
Yes.
In the Caribbean, maybe not worldwide, but in the Caribbean, I think women has made significant strides. Let us take Dominica. I use the civil service as an example because government is the largest employer. And the majority of the permanent secretaries, maybe 90 to 95% are females.
Absolutely.
They are the heads of the department. They are in the leadership role. We spin in this private sector, there's still a significant number. Let us look at Domlec, headed by a female. Digicel, headed by a female. NBD, right now a female, Mrs. Linda Tuse Peters is acting as the managing director. Well, so if when we look at in Dominica, we have maybe even outpaced the men. And we can see that throughout a number of the Caribbean countries. So in terms of again from UWI for the last maybe 10 or so years, 70% or more of the graduates have been females rather than males. And that means what it is, they are positioning themselves. In fact, I think in the Caribbean, we may find ourselves having a reverse where our
I think so. I think so.
Stop and take positive action towards men and ensuring that they find their place. Because if we all find our places and then our men are nowhere, then what kind of husbands are we going to have?
Absolutely.
You know, what kind of our sons we're going to have heartaches and heartbreaks? And as I always say, if with all of the success I may have, if my one little son I have, Nathan Obasi, Kendrick, Elkin Henry, doesn't come out right, I would have failed. So we must move in tandem. But I think, you know, but one of the things I think too as women, and I see that based on my interaction with my youth series and youth persons, and can I put a little plug for youth series, which starts next week, August 1st to the 7th. And if you have not yet registered your child or children, there are a few places. Remember, we have to reduce numbers because of COVID. Please call in and register them. But as I see that, one of the things that saddens me though, is as we rise and we are rising and we are taking our places, we are breaking all kinds of ceilings. Somehow, I think some of the values we are passing on, something is missing. I find there's too much of a sexualization of women, and we ourselves are doing it. So when you see them, we have the tight dress showing every part that we have. And what I'm saying is we have time and place, but that cannot be the focus. And so I see, and I worry a bit that, especially for a bit of the younger generation, that even while, yes, they're bringing on education, but there is too much of a focus on the sexualization of their own selves. And I think that for me is a little concern. And I think we have to stop and check this while we move along, you know.
Yeah, so we're making important strides, but there's still work to be done. So
yes, because we're going back, because I remember, I remember when, I just use that one example, and one young girl, you know, her mother had sent her to register for the recruitment. And she's like, she didn't want to register as her mother. And I said, why? And she had excellent grades, ones. And I said, you're poised to get yourself to university and so on. And she's like, I don't want to go to university. I don't want to work. And I was like, what do you mean you don't want to? She said, I have a boyfriend. I said, and? She said, well, he'll take care of me. And
what year was this?
A few years back, in this recent generation time. And
her boyfriend will take care of her.
Yes. And I think we have there's a set of us that is going back, I say, to the generation of the 40s and 50s, a descendant. And I don't know how we're going to
by choice.
But I think that is something. So while we are rising, there's some of us who are not. And I think that's where we need to stop and take stock to ensure that we don't leave anybody behind.
Yeah, and I think that's also where someone like you as a role model comes in, because you show us the possibility of what is possible for our life as women in the Caribbean. So I want to thank you, Dr. Henry. I want to thank you for taking some time off from your busy day to be here with us to share a message of inspiration, a message of hope. So a final thought before you leave. I know we have to wind up, but I'm enjoying this conversation.
Again, what I always say to persons is that I think discipline is one of the keys to success. You can be as brilliant as you can be. You can have all the opportunities set before you. if you don't have the discipline to make the stop, to do the sacrifices that are needed along the way, that success that you desire may pass you by. And then
Absolutely.
faith in God and faith in yourself. You must believe in you. You must believe in your dreams. That's why it's important to know what is your purpose. Why am I here? And it is that vision for your own life that is going to keep you through the rocky road parts of life, because life is not just smooth sailing. Trust me, there are boulders, there are precipices. I have this climb back up. And but you know what keeps me and what how I never lost track? That vision for my own life and that faith in me that with God there was nothing I couldn't do. And back to a lesson I said earlier. What's yours is yours.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
So don't envy other people on their journey. And sometimes we do that. We see somebody, succeeding, and we like, we are envious. We find every negative thing. We try to bring up every mistake they possibly have made. No, let that go. It's their journey. It's not yours. You may not be able to walk in the shoes that they walk. You might have faltered. Just work to you. Don't compare yourself. And just celebrate others as you work towards yours.
Yeah, and put your energy. Yes, and put your energy towards your path. Not be concerned about other people.
Yeah, your path.
Yes.
Don't be envious. Yes. I think sometimes that's a risk that we have, where we see a person doing well, and instead of being happy for that person, we say, "Oh, why not me?" Especially if you go into not a good time yourself. You say, "I'm struggling here. I've done this." No, that's not your path. That's not your journey. That's a person's journey. That's theirs. And you have your own journey. And so are you investing in your journey? Are you putting the next? And you have to work. When I was leaving university, my brother-in-law, Williams Excellency, said to me, and I've taught my son, every time I start, he finishes. He says, yeah, I know. The only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary.
Amen.
You have to work for it, And that, I thank you for having me, Dr. Matthew. Thank you for having me. I thank your guest for staying tuned in to listen to me and to listen to us and our discussion. And I just want to wish you continued success. I just want to ask God's favor to rest upon you and to overrun you.
Thank you.
His wisdom and his peace to guide and to protect you as you continue on your path, doing this work that he has set out for you.
Oh,
and
thank you so much.
For all your listeners and for everyone.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Henry. And I look forward to following your journey with the ECCB. And I hope that you will stop by again so we can share on this topic and other topics as well. So I look forward to remaining in contact with you, DJ Kubuli. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. He's one of my super fans, so I have to say good afternoon to him. And thank you everyone who joined us on the Facebook Live and who will hear this program on TDN Radio, Untapped Potential at a future date. Dr. Henry, I wish you all the success in the world, and thank you for being an inspiration. Tazi, thank you for being here as well. I wish you all the best. Don't forget to follow Push Past 10 as we continue to do this work of sharing positivity and just being a great stress-free zone where we can come and enjoy a great conversation with an inspirational guest. So have a good day, Dr. Henry. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, and all the best. Merry blessings. Mwah.
Thank you.